I think they're going to try to cut minor league teams anyway. I keep hearing that they want to cut 1 and possibly 2 more levels of the minors, that Rob Manfred says we can just hand development over to college baseball.
Hey, it's the Athletics' Keith Law joining us right now. You got a full house here today, Keith. You got
I see.
Yeah, you got Pierzynski. All right. So thanks for coming on. Obviously, everyone listening and watching, check out Keith's work in the Athletic. Do you want to start there, or do you want to start with the legal stuff?
Oh no, we're starting there.
Go ahead.
No,
then.
Scott wants your voting card revoked because you voted for Ollie Marmol for whatever third place manager of the year.
All right,
so that's why Scott wanted you on.
Let's clear the board.
Don't let him fool you. He wanted you on to know why the heck you voted that way, and he wants your card revoked for making that vote.
Keith, that's AJ. AJ was pissed at you about Marmol, and I'm pissed
I
about
I love Ollie Marmol. He went to the same high school.
I'm pissed at the guy who picked Baldelli third. That's my big gripe from the manager of the year. And some people are like, don't pick on. I'm like, no, someone should have to explain why you go Baldelli third when it was like an epic collapse. But anyway, Marmol, why'd you pick him?
Okay, can I just point out, it is a third place vote.
Don't care. Don't care. Scott said you should lose your voting rights forever.
Everybody needs to go touch grass a little bit here. It's funny because Cardinal fans think he's terrible. And I'm like, his 2 best players, offensive players coming into the year, collapsed. And I thought he handled the bullpen extremely well. I think he deserves a good bit of credit for sticking with Mason Wynn early for his development over the course of the year, which was supposed to be Marmol's thing, right? You're supposed to be a development guy. And look, I don't think the whole Pythagorean record, that's not just straight up how you measure a manager. It's not nothing that they had a winning record despite getting outscored by like 40 runs on the season. Like, I'm willing to move the needle a little bit for that. I came down to him or Carlos Mendoza. Those were the 2 candidates. I don't think either was like, if you said, it should have been Mendoza over Marmol. Sure. I got no real argument there. I thought the other candidates, when I dug down into them a bit more and talked to people who'd seen each of the clubs, which is the real challenge voting for this award, can't see every game with every team. I got a lot of mixed reviews on Schilt or on Rob Thompson, who's probably the one I see the most because of where I live. Whereas Marmol, people who are around the club more were like, yeah, actually, he did a pretty good job with a lousy hand. It was not a great roster. Goldschmidt cratering and Arenado taking a step back really hurt that team. And it was an achievement just to get them over 500.
All right, look. Keith, watch.
Oh, this is my emotional support plan here, Keith.
Well, because there's no grass in here, and I don't get outside the studio enough, and we have to leave the window.
You touch the is that a fiddle leaf fig there?
See, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
It's a fake plant.
It is fake, but it's not to me, Kratz.
Yeah, it's a fake.
Don't tell me how to to feel about my plant.
It doesn't get any sunlight. But, okay, well, good. No, I like
Neither
that.
do you. So, yeah.
Let's get straight to the Fair Ball Act, because this is a show that can definitely cover the hard hitting laws out there that are going to help minor leaguers. So can you explain this? We wanted to save this for you. Can you explain what's going on here and why it could actually be huge for a lot of players who don't get paid crap?
Right. I'm an expert because my name is Law.
True.
So this is to protect players, minor league players who, as you said, are paid nothing. There was a law passed a couple of years ago, it's probably about 5 years ago now, that exempted minor league players from minimum wage laws, because obviously they are paid on, if you go by an hourly basis, they are paid less than the federal minimum wage, which is not very high to begin with. And what this law would do is say that only applies if the players' salaries are collectively bargained. So now that the minor leaguers are represented by the Players Association, point to determine minor leaguers' salaries going forward. If that is not settled, or until a point when that is settled, then major league teams must pay minor leaguers at least the federal minimum wage. If this law passes, which it probably won't in the end. But that is the intent here, is saying you can pay less than minimum wage if it is part of a collective bargaining agreement. If not, if those players are denied that bargaining, then you must abide by federal minimum wage laws.
So does this just mean if this were to pass? I know you said most likely it won't. If this were to pass, is just that mean that major league owners will just cut more teams, cut more players, so they're still paying the same amount of money. That's what people don't understand. Like, ooh, minor leaguers are getting more. They play an extra month in AAA now than they used to.
Mm-hmm.
And there is 27% less players in the minor leagues, 27% less players getting an opportunity to make it to the big leagues.
I think everything you said is correct. I would add, I think they're going to try to cut minor league teams anyway. I keep hearing that they want to cut 1 and possibly 2 more levels of the minors, that Rob Manfred says we can just hand development over to college baseball. That's probably a whole separate segment and a whole nother discussion. Let's just say I don't agree with that point of view. I don't think you'll find a lot of player development people who are happy handing over development to the college ranks. But regardless of whether they have to pay minor leaguers more, Manfred and some of the people around him seem to just see the minor leagues as cost, not as a place where you're developing product, essentially. These players are the product when they get to the majors. That's where you should be making more investments. His mindset is, that's just costs. Money we don't have to spend. Let's roll it back. And that may end up being a big part of collective bargaining going forward. Now, you can't cut a bunch of minor league jobs without negotiating that with the union first.
All right, Keith, I have a couple of things on this. Yes, I've also heard that they're talking about cutting some more minor league teams, like a whole nother level, possibly, like you just mentioned. So I have heard that. I haven't heard anybody confirm it, but I've had people that know some stuff say that same thing, which I think is awful, because I think you need more minor league teams instead of less, and instead they keep getting less and less and less. And college baseball is not the place you develop, because the college coach has to win first and foremost. He doesn't care if you develop. He's got to win the game. So that's a whole, like you said, we can go into a whole nother show about that. We can do hours upon that. But so if this law passes, this is my question. How do you put an hour thing on it? How do you put a minimum wage hour? Because guys get to the field at a certain time, different times. Guys leave the field at different times. So if I get there at 2 o'clock and my buddy down, my locker mate, gets there at 4 o'clock, do I get overtime because I was there 2 extra hours? Or if I stay an hour after the game, is there going to be a time clock, right? Ching. Everyone's going to be there 10 a.m. in the morning and leaving at 2 a.m. just to try to get those extra 4 hours, whatever it is, right? So to me, this doesn't make sense. I don't know how they would calculate it.
They would probably, now I'm just spitballing here, but they would probably have to say these are the mandatory hours. They play, it's 6 games a week in the minors. So they would probably say you've got to have 7 hours where you are required to be at the ballpark. And so that's probably 42 hours a week. That's just where I came up with that number, right? So you have to get there at 4, and the expectation is you'll be done at 11. And if you want to get there early by choice, that is your choice. And the facilities will be open. People can work with you, but you're not getting paid for that. They could negotiate some kind of mandatory overtime if you're there longer. If you have a double header and you have to be there for 12 hours, maybe that would be covered somewhere by federal overtime laws, not by collective bargaining. There's a lot of, this would be a heck of a lot easier, bless you, if they just collectively bargained it and said, that's your flat salary no matter what, because then they don't have to worry about the minimum wage laws. Both sides would have agreed, and meaning they don't have to worry about the time clock. That is the way to avoid exactly the problem you're talking about. It's just both sides agree. This is the AAA salary. This is the AA salary. These are the minimums. Obviously, you can make more if you're a minor league free agent, but here are the minimums for each level. It doesn't matter if you're at the ballpark 45 hours or 60 hours. This is the salary you're making.
Is there a reason that Senator Durbin is presenting this bill?
He's been, I mean, he might be the only guy I could name. You know what? Him and Bernie Sanders are the two who have spoken out for player rights and particularly the minor leagues. I don't know if in Durbin's case, if he has minor league teams in his state that he's trying to protect, or if it is truly just a labor rights thing, which I think with Senator Sanders, very clearly, he is a labor rights advocate. But Durbin has been one of the only voices, I'd say, in the last 5 to 8 years who's come out pretty strongly against the contraction of the minor leagues and in favor of players' rights at the major and minor league levels. I couldn't tell you a whole lot else about Dick Durbin's politics. I just happen to align really well with him on this one. You got to pay the players more.
My question to you is, you're still doing draft stuff and college baseball stuff as you're doing this as well? All right, so coming up in the new year, who are a couple guys that are going to be on the radar here as we look forward to the college baseball season as well?
It's going to be an interesting draft because what I keep hearing is it's a good first round, but we don't have superstars at the top which we've had a couple the last few years. I think the most famous name is Ethan Holiday. You may have heard of his brother or his father. Ethan is bigger, stronger than Jackson, but a different type of hitter, a little more swing and miss. And we've even seen that at some of the showcases that happened this summer. He's also a high school player. He's probably going to be the first high school player off the board. Even if he doesn't have a great spring, he's just kind of come in so far ahead of everyone else. And with so much of a history, people scouted him when they were seeing Jackson a couple of years ago. And then there's Jay Slaviolette at Texas A&M, who's probably stepped out as the top college position player so far, with a combination of performance, some tools, chance to stay in the middle of the diamond in the outfield, can run a bit, has some power, has just really produced against good competition the last few years. That said, when we go into a year without a clear star, or a clear little group of stars to go at the very top, that's an opportunity for someone to break out, high school or college. Someone comes out really strongly early in the season, they're going to run up everyone's boards, mine included. Because all of the names I've heard so far are like, he'd be a nice pick in the top 10. But nobody like, this guy's going to be gone before our pick. No one is talking to me like that. They're saying, we pick 6th, and we've got 12 names so far because we have no idea who's actually going to be top 6 when the season starts, let alone when we get to the draft in July.
All right, let's get to your big free agent board now, Keith, and everyone can find it in The Athletic, but let's pick a couple names. I'll let you do it, right? That you've received the most feedback on, whether you've gotten a lot of, I like that fit, or I like that price, or of course, the trolls taking over the comments section of The Athletic, which, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes when I need a good laugh, I go down there and just see what everyone's saying.
They all know better than we do, right? They spend their lives on the internet, and apparently that's how.
That's their job.
I mean, the guy I get asked the most about now, of course, is Roki Sasaki. I'm sure you guys have talked about him. Sounds like you were talking to Jim Bowden about him earlier. I mean, if I'm betting money, I think he goes to the Dodgers. Everyone's heard for years he just personally wants to be a Dodger. Obviously, the money's really limited there because he's classed as an amateur. The one thing I would add to all this that I think is a big question about him, the guy hasn't pitched that much the last 2 years. He's basically thrown half a season each of the last 2 years. Now, when he pitches, he's the best in Japan, among the best on the planet. 2 years ago, it was shoulder inflammation. I think last year it was an oblique strain. That's tough. How do you value this guy? How do you think of him in terms of building your roster? Everybody wants him, but can you bank on him to go 30 and 180? Not that anybody goes 200 innings anymore, but can you bank on him as a number one starter who will handle that workload? I'll be very curious to see who ends up signing him, because it's a commitment to put him in the rotation right now, but then maybe you have to build some innings bulk around him in case he can't handle a full season's workload. Another guy I heard a lot about, Jeff Hoffman, who I'm pretty sure I had him ranked as the top reliever in the market. And I think the Phillies did an unbelievable job. I mean, he did too, obviously, but taking a guy who's a minor league free agent, I think he'd been released that spring, and turning him into one of the best relievers in the sport. Do you make him a starter? I've heard whispers of teams wanting to try him back as a starter again. Obviously, different pitch, different guy. He never had that breaking ball, that slider specifically when he was a starter. And so maybe he could try that again. I don't know. Maybe I'm too old and too risk averse. I feel like he's been really good in that short relief role. I would just love to keep him there and say, you're a 9th inning guy, you're an 8th inning guy, whatever you are, our high leverage, tight spot. He's absolutely the guy you want to have coming out of the bullpen. So I'll be curious to see if that affects his market. Do a couple teams come in and say, we'll let you start, which probably means he gets more money? Will someone else come in and say, all right, fine, we'll give you a longer deal to have you as a reliever, but we're going to keep you in that short-term role?
All right, let's relax. Bryce Harper was the one that found Jeff Hoffman when he came and threw to Bryce when he was rehabbing. The Phillies were like, oh, you like him? Okay, Bryce, that's cool. And then he just went on and dominated for 2 years.
I did not know. Did Bryce get a commission on that one?
Bryce has gotten he's got, that's why he went to him for the extension, but they said no, Hoffman wasn't worth it. But no, my question to you, you're talking about Roki Sasaki. It came up yesterday, I think, or the day before, when we were talking about Rookie of the Year stuff. Do you think, because you watch all these college guys, you see the draft, you're so locked in, should Roki Sasaki or anybody that's already played in a professional league be eligible for Rookie of the Year award?
I think no. Now, I vote for them. When I have the vote, I vote for them because those are the rules. But if you ask me to make the rules, those are major leagues. They may not be as good as our league, right? But the best players in Japan and the best players in Korea come over here, and they're great players here. So to me, I don't like counting them, especially when they're 28 or older. Yeah, they're technically first-year players here, but that's not comparable to a Ronald Acuna coming out of the minors, right? Or, or a Paul Skeens or a Jackson Churio, Jackson Merrill. They're not the same thing. So as long as those are the rules, I'll vote for those guys. But I've said forever and ever, I don't think they should be. I think I'd be fine giving them their own category, their own award, but they're not comparable to the kids actually coming out of the minors here.
Keith, just remember, you lost all your votes according to Scott Braun after your.
I don't have any votes anymore. No,
so you don't have to worry about it.
You don't have to worry about it.
They're all gone.
I'm not mad at Keith. I'm legit. Wait, hold on. If you're gonna troll me again,
I'm not trolling you. That's what you said.
No, I'm fine with
did he not say, "What the heck? We got to get Keith Law in here. Why is he voting for Ollie Marmol third place?"
No.
I can't believe it.
Lawrence Dow. That's who Scott wanted. You wanted Keith Law. You were pissed at Keith Law. AJ
I love Ollie Marmol.
Oh, if only we could go back on replay. Oh, wait, every show is available.
I love
the flag.
Everywhere.
Throw the flag.
Yes. Wait, exactly. Challenge flag. Wait, fine. We'll do this real quick. Then you do your question. I mean, I don't think there's a case to be made for Rocco Baldelli. And I know Rocco, he's great, all that. But for anyone to put a vote down for the fourth place team in the American League Central in 2024 to have their manager receive that, I don't know what you're thinking. A team that was anticipated to be towards the top of the division. Yes, the Twins definitely smacked him and their fans in the face by deciding to scale back payroll, never doing anything at trade deadlines. But still, that's not how this should work in my mind. I personally have a hunch that it was sent in early because they get sent out in August. Some people, I didn't know this. Kratz made me aware of this. I checked it with someone. You can send it in early. I think a rule should be made where you can't send it in early, right? That sounds like an easy switch. Hey, you have to wait until September 30 or whatever the end date is, because that person might have done that. And if they didn't and they have a logical explanation, I want to hear it. But they should come on the show and explain to me why Rocco Baldelli is the third best manager this year.
You can't. Yes, you could vote in August. That's when we first get it. There's about 6 weeks left in the season, and I don't, because what if a guy gets hurt? What if everything can change? Yeah. The flip side is then I end up at some point in late September in a panic. Did I forget? Did I wait? Do I still have time? There's always that. I had this dream that it's October 5th and I forgot to vote for whatever award. That hasn't actually happened, but I understand someone sending it a little bit early. Sending it in August might be excessive.
Yes. All right, go ahead. You got
okay, now that I'm allowed to ask my real question.
You got me. You got me.
Stop. You're done. You had your time. Okay. Give me one free agent and make it quick. That's going to get more money and longer, better contract than people expect.
Anthony Santander. And I think he might end up overpaid relative to what he produces, but I feel like he is not a well-known name at all. And he had 44 homers last year, 40-something, right? I mean, I got to September, and it's not like I don't see the Orioles. They're a good team. I live close. And all of a sudden, I see some highlights, home run 38. Santander has 38 homers. It was the quietest 40-homer season I can think of. And I have a feeling, I think he's going to get paid. I think he's going to be one of those guys teams turn to. You miss out on Soto. You want a big bat. He's going to rise pretty quickly to the top of the next tier and might lead him to getting overpaid, but good for him. It's his one chance to get a big contract. I hope he gets it.
Seems like a good dude, too. They loved him in Baltimore. I don't think he's coming back. Yeah, but, man, they rallied around him. So, all right, well, you got a little bit of everything, Keith. We went into laws. We went into prospects, draft, voting, the whole deal. So thanks for stopping by for the full menu, man. Good to see you again.
Anytime.
Hey, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content.
We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
Baseball the way it should be covered.